Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. Poppin' Rick.
What's up?
Oh boy. Thursday Night Football.
What's the I was going to do the theme song, but I don't even know what the theme song
is. Do they have a theme song?
Yeah, they do. It's like dun 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 dun. I don't know.
Yeah. I've noticed that Monday Night Football has gotten a lot better.
It definitely is better.
It feels like a much bigger product.
And I don't like Joe Buck. I hate Joe Buck, and I'm not a big Aikman guy, but it's still better than what they had last year.
Well, you can see that by watching the Sunday morning football game, 9:30 a.m. in London.
Right.
Because they have.
I like Louis Riddick.
I don't even like him. The other crew, like, you could get away with Riddick. Like, if he went and signed with like CBS for the 1:00 slate. Like, you could get away with Riddick if you have a good, like, play-by-play guy.
The
play-by-play guy is so stupid. They say so many dumb things. It drives me crazy.
I think it's because he does hockey too. Because I watch, I'm a hockey guy, and ESPN has hockey. So he does hockey too, and he's better in hockey. I think he's like hockey. I don't think football is his main sport.
Riddick? I thought he played in the
No,
NFL.
not Riddick. The play-by-play.
Oh, gotcha,
Steve, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He does hockey. He's okay in hockey. He's still kind of a brick, but he's a little bit better in hockey than he's football. In football, he's horrible. He's awful.
It's atrocious. And some of the, like, they try to, like, be funny.
Yeah, and Dan Orlovsky. I like some of his stuff. Like, so like he's on ESPN. He'll do First Take. He'll do Get Up. Too. He does college football. He's okay. And I like some of his analysts. Like, he does have good analysts. Like, he'll break down plays.
Yeah.
And quarterback play especially. But in the booth, he's just a little bit much.
A little corny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway. But it feels like, I was going to say, feels like Monday Night Football. Not Thursday Night Football, but Monday Night Football is, like, back in the day when you got on Monday Night Football, it was a big deal. It was like for your franchise, for your organization, it was a big deal. And now it's like, it feels like Monday Night Football comes around, everyone's like, this.
It's like, it's literally the equivalent of Thursday.
And now it feels like a big game now. It feels like, okay, this is a big, even though.
I don't know. It definitely is a little bit.
It's got me humming the Monday Night Football song again.
Dun, 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 dun. That is a great theme song.
Dun. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. Anyway, so we got Thursday Night Football tonight. Very interesting game. We'll break that down. Go through the Thursday Night Football.
Is it an interesting game?
It could be.
Really?
It could be. I'm rooting against the Eagles because 17-0 Patriots.
Well, the Houston Texans might be, and we'll get to it, but they might be the worst team in football. So.
All right, that's a little bit much. I'm actually interested to break down the Texans because I haven't talked about them in a while. But,
okay, well, you're going to find out some really gross things when you do.
It's like, I haven't even watched the Texans.
Yeah, and you're blessed, bro. You're blessed.
You have with Dameon Pierce. But, so we'll break down the Thursday night preview. We wanted to get to, before that particular segment of the show, because we'll probably blow through the Texans real quick in terms of fantasy matchups, is some of the madness that happened on the trade deadline on Tuesday. So we're going to talk about some of that on the show as well, some of the fantasy implications of some trades that happened. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasygems.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you have for us. All right. So yesterday, really interesting trade deadline. It was actually very good. I was shocked.
It was.
I was shocked by how great the trade deadline was, because usually it's a complete dud.
Yeah, I guess so. I saw something that it usually is a dud, but the last like 2 or 3 years, there's been more and more activity each year. So like the last 3 trade deadlines, there's been more trades in each of the last 3. So each year, it feels like there's more and more trades.
Yeah,
It's only gone up.
It's crazy. So obviously we've already broken this down, but I'm going to go quickly through some of the trades that happened in the last couple weeks that we already know about. Obviously Robbie Anderson sent to the Cardinals. That really hasn't been anything. Christian McCaffrey goes to the 49ers. Obviously a big deal. Yeah, is there any other deals that happened prior to yesterday? Kadarius Toney.
Toney.
James Robinson.
Yeah.
So some stuff that we've already hit on, but I want us to go through a couple of the trades that went down yesterday. The first major deal being T.J. Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings. It's a rare intra-division trade that happens between the Vikings and the Lions. So Hawk, a 4th-round pick and a conditional 4th, went to Minnesota for a 2nd and a 4th-round pick. How are we feeling about T.J. Hawkinson?
So I've gone back and forth a little bit. It at first it felt very lateral to me. Like, I don't know. He goes from being like the 3rd option on a decent offense to like the 2nd or 3rd option on a decent offense with Kirk Cousins. So like, I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me, but it wasn't negative either. Like he's still solid. But the more I think about it, I actually do like it for him, because you texted me and you were like, "Oh, Thaleen," I kind of jokingly, but you're like, "Thaleen's washed. It's Hawks team," and like, I don't want it. Thalen's not necessarily washed, but like, you are right. Where like, I don't think Thalen's gonna command a huge target share. I think the offense is gonna be very efficient. I don't know how explosive it is, but it's definitely a very, very efficient offense. And I feel like he could have a case to be the number 2 guy in that passing offense. And it's a much better team than the Lions, but the Lions do have a good offense. I don't know. It's close. I think it's more lateral, but slightly trending up, I would say. Kirk Cousins does still kind of scare me though.
So my opinion more comes from the fact that T.J. Hawkinson goes from the 1-6 Detroit Lions
to a 6-1
Minnesota Vikings, and I think the Vikings offense, like a lot of people are be like, oh, they're both good offense. I think the Vikings offense is much better than the Lions offense. Partially the reason why they're 6-1, to be honest with you, but I think Hawk going onto this team, I think he will be the number 2 guy. Adam Thielen does not scare me in the slightest. A lot of people are saying that he's number 3. I mean, it could go either way, but I think he walks into this offense as the number 2 guy. Obviously, number 1, they're going to target Justin Jefferson the most.
Yep, and he's going to get double-digit targets every game.
Yes, and then Hawk, I think, comes in and if he can command a 6-7 target share, that's what he was doing in Detroit at least. But I think the big thing for him is there's going to be a lot more opportunities for him to score in the red zone, because that's where the bread is made. The money is counted for tight ends.
It's weird because, like, statistically speaking, the Lions. So I looked it up. The Lions and the Vikings are actually tied for offense this year in terms of points for. And the Lions do have a very good offense. Their defense sucks, but I don't know if they use Hawk in the red zone as much as maybe they could, and the Vikings potentially could do that. I don't think you trade essentially what they did to not use him in the red zone, So
like a 2nd and a 4th round pick is a lot of investment in the tight end position. So
I think they got it was a 2nd and a 4th, but it was also 2 4ths coming back there or something like that. It was essentially like a 2nd, pretty much.
Yeah. So.
Which is still.
Yeah. But either way, I think the conditional 4th, I don't know what the conditions of that 4th, but that might also not end up being in the package altogether. So it's more like Hawk and a 4th for a 2nd and a 4th. So 4th round pick swap and then a 2nd round pick. Yeah. So I think it's a good trade for the Vikings. I think Rick's probably in the safer realm of it's a slight upgrade. Like if you want to create a little
and
graph,
you're to the moon.
The air he goes. I'm a Hawk guy, so to the
Yeah,
moon.
like rest of season rankings, he was already in your top 5, wasn't he?
Yes.
So where the heck is he now?
He's still top 5. He's still
okay.
He's still probably 5. I'm actually
curious. It hasn't really changed.
Hold on. Rest of season on Fantasy Pros has got Hawk at 8. Why do they do that to the poor guy?
Hold on, let me look. I'm gonna look.
I don't understand.
They have Hawk at 8?
Yeah, they have Hawk at 8. I don't get it.
Where would you put him?
5.
So you would put him at 5.
Yeah,
looking at this list.
I think he's better than Higbee.
Oh yeah, no, I'd probably put him at 5 too.
I think he's better than Higbee.
maybe 6. Zach Ertz is like debatable to me.
Yeah. So anyway,
I might leave Zach Ertz ahead of him.
Let's talk about some other deals that happened along the way. Chase Claypool gets traded to the Bears. I'm kind of intrigued to see, for a second-round pick, 2023 second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of intrigued to see. Obviously, to me, this is great news for Justin Fields. Mid-season,
yes,
when he was just coming on and improving. The last 2 weeks, he's played some of the best football in his career, and he's playing really well, and they seem to figure things out with him a little bit. Still not throwing a lot, but hopefully with more talent around him. This doesn't fix the offensive line problems, obviously, but with more talent around him, it'll allow Justin Fields to, make more plays passing at least. I think this trade does a lot of good things for Justin Fields, and I already was on the Justin Fields train rest of season as a top 12 quarterback. That is even higher now, and I just want to see what the Bears do with Claypool. And how he kind of incorporates into the Bears' passing attack. Because if that improves, then I think, even if he already rushes for 80 yards a game, essentially, if you add 250 and a touchdown through the air, I mean, he's going to get 20, 25 points a week at this point. So, which is great. I mean, that's what you're looking for at the quarterback position, and that's in this year when the quarterbacks are not scoring as much for whatever reason. He'll finish somewhere between 7 and 8 at the end of the season if he keeps on that pace. So I think it's a great trade for Justin Fields. As far as Claypool, I don't know how I feel about his fantasy ceiling.
Yeah.
I think it's better for him to be with the Bears only because of Justin Fields and how good he is. But he could be the type of player that gives you, a 2-touchdown performance because Justin Fields chucks it up to him twice and then just have 5 straight weeks of scoring 3 points a game.
Right.
That could be Chase Claypool, and I think that's more likely to be what Chase Claypool is. But as the team improves and gets better, probably going more into next year, I think I like Chase Claypool a little bit more in the future, so in a dynasty perspective, than I do in terms of season long.
Yeah, that's fair. The other thing with Fields, and I do like Fields as well, I'm all in on the Fields train, but even with Claypool, I don't think he's going to throw. He hasn't. His season high in passing yards is 208. His season high in pass attempts is 27.
Mm-hmm.
Even these last couple of weeks, he's been very efficient and very good, but he's still only throwing the ball like 22 times a game. 23 pass. Like against Dallas, he went 17 and 23 for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So efficient, but still not really throwing the ball a lot.
Right.
So I think that's going to hurt Claypool because he's not going to get a lot of opportunity. I think his upside might be higher, though, on the Bears than it was on the Steelers because he's going to be the outside of Mooney. It's going to be him and Mooney kind of demanding all of the targets that are there. So he could have some big games, like you said. Fields Fields is a quarterback upgrade, I think, than what the Steelers have had. So the last couple years, honestly, because Big Ben at the end blew. So I think he could have some big games in there, but as you said, I think he's going to have weeks where he gets like 3 points. Definitely someone I'm going to look at hard in the off season. But rest of the season, I don't really think it changes too much for Claypool. And if anything, it may be worse, but with a little bit higher upside.
Yeah. Okay. I also think quickly this hurts Mooney a little bit because there isn't a lot of, like Rick said, there's not a lot of pass catching opportunity. I mean, unless they get up to 32, 35 pass attempts a game because they're like, okay, Chase Claypool's here. We're good. I just don't know how
Not
much
that Mooney has been doing anything. He has zero touchdowns.
Right. So this is the, kind of the problem with the Bears wide receiving core at this point is that they're better, but unless they start passing the ball more, I don't see how any of these wide receivers are startable in fantasy football. All right. Dolphins, they trade to get Bradley Chubb for a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and Chase Edmonds. The Dolphins also get a fifth-round pick back with Bradley Chubb. So Edmonds gets shipped out to Denver in a three-headed backfield of fun. I'm going to say, for my own hopes and dreams, that Chase Edmonds would probably factor out to be the second guy behind Melvin Gordon.
Okay.
With that being said, I think he gets slightly more opportunity than he did before, which wasn't a lot. I don't love Chase Edmonds. I don't think. I mean, maybe he walks in there and becomes the number one running back for the team for the rest of the season. I don't know, but I certainly don't. I think he's better than Boone, and he's better than Latavius Murray. So I think he's the second guy at worst.
Yeah, well, but Murray's been getting at least this past week. Murray got the most work. He got more work than Melvin did.
How many touches?
He had 15 touches. Melvin Gordon had 12.
Okay. I mean, if he's between 12 and 15 touches, I think that's what he was doing early
for Edmonds.
For Edmonds, yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't think.
I don't think they're using 3 backs or 4 backs. I really don't. I think they're going to use 2, and it's going to be Melvin.
Bro, it's Nathaniel Hackett, and they were using Mike Boone. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you just said that what's his name had 12 and the other guy had 15.
Latavius Murray last week. Yeah.
I'm not worried about Lat Murray.
Okay.
And I'm
not
worried about Mike Boone.
You might.
I'm not starting him this week. I want to see what happens, but my projection is that he ends up getting 12 touches a game.
Okay. I think that's
not that hard to say. Like what do you want me to say here? They gave their running backs 30 touches last week. What?
They did.
How hard is it for Chase Edmonds to get 12?
The week before that,
I don't have any hope. I don't have any hope.
They combined for 20.
I was about to drop him. I had him ready to drop.
What I will tell you about
he
Edmonds,
went to the freaking Denver Broncos, and I'm like, great, now I can't drop him because I got to see what the heck's going on here.
I think this is good for him. I think it is better than Miami.
Yeah.
That being said, what was he getting touches a game? Like 5?
Yeah.
5 touches a game.
Yeah.
I think he goes from like 5 touches a game to like 8 or 9. So
okay, yeah. I mean,
it is better, but like it's still disgusting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Denver Broncos. If you had them on your team, I would say hold them for now and just at least see what happens. You never know. They might roll Chase.
I mean, I'd be willing to sell them if someone was like,
if somebody's willing,
Broncos
yeah.
fan.
I just don't think that's. I don't think you can. Right.
No, yeah. If you can't, then just
you got a Denver Broncos fan in your league, and they're losing it because they got Chase Edmonds for whatever reason.
Right.
But anyway, the Dolphins then in turn acquired Jeff Wilson from the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for a 5th-round pick. They just traded for Christian McCaffrey, and they already have Elijah Mitchell and other elements to their running game. So they're like, we don't need Jeff Wilson anymore. See you later, guy. And another man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah, so now he can perfectly fit in with the Miami Dolphins.
If you were
49ers,
excited about Raheem Mostert being the starter here after this trade, and you're like, oh, there we go, saddle it up. Jeff Wilson ruins your hopes and dreams. I think he plugs in perfectly with this team. I think that what they were trying to do with Jeff Wilson, with Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert early in the season, where they were splitting the work, is what they're going to try to do with Jeff Wilson, because Wilson is a much better fit for the system than Chase Edmonds was. So I think Wilson probably factors into about 8 to 12 touches. And Raheem Mostert probably factors into about 8 to 12 touches. I don't like any of this backfield, to be honest with you. Like, I know there are Mostert people out there who are excited. I don't know why.
Mostert has been pretty good.
How do we have Mostert truthers in society? I don't understand that.
I don't know if it's necessarily because he's great at this point in his career, but he's been good, putting up a lot of fantasy points. I do think what you said, like what they were trying to do in the beginning, like I do think it's going to be closer to a split.
Yep.
I do think Mostert gets more work than Wilson, but
that's fair.
The problem is that even if that happens,
who does what's his name? Why can't I remember his name? Mike McDaniel. Who does Mike McDaniel love more? That's the real question.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? But if this is looking more and more like the 49ers, right? Mm-hmm. And what do the 49ers love to do before they got McCaffrey? They love to just give the hot hand and they don't care about fantasy. They're just going to give out the running back who they feel like.
Wow, Jeff Wilson ran for 10 yards. Keep him out there.
Yeah, keep him out there. Exactly. Yeah. They did only give up a fifth for him though, so like I don't think he's
I don't think Jeff Wilson has any
I think he's pretty much just going to play the Chase Edmonds role.
His
and
value
maybe do a little bit more
in San Francisco is the exact same as it would be in Miami.
With McCaffrey in San Francisco.
No, without McCaffrey. When they had Elijah Mitchell, like if somebody
gets hurt, really?
If somebody gets hurt,
when they had Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, when somebody gets hurt, Jeff Wilson takes over.
Right.
So that's the role for Jeff Wilson. But anyway, Nyheim Hines traded to the Bills in one of the last deals of the day. I people apparently are excited about this. It makes a difference for the Bills. You know what makes a difference for the Bills? Josh bleeping Allen. Like it's. I don't care if Nyheim Hines, little boy Nyheim Hines, shows up to that backfield to kill James Cook. Like, good God, people, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't think
Nyheim
it really does
Hines.
It's so
Oh, it's so mid. Like, please tell me about another running back. God, don't pick him up. Don't put him on a team. Like, people are gonna get sweaty. I can't with this. They did send Zach Moss in a conditional 6th round pick.
I was going to say, in a PPR league, he's okay.
How much do they pass the running back position to begin with? 0. Maybe 2 times a game.
But why would you trade for Nyheim Hines if you're not going to use him?
They sent Zach Moss in a 6th round pick. I don't think they were really selling that much.
They weren't. But
so what I've heard from Bills camps, from the Bills beat, has been that they are going to put Nyheim Hines in the 3rd down back role and some of the pass catching work, and Singletary will still get a primary load of the carries. So
right, which is what I've that's what Nyheim Hines is. He's J.D. McKissick. They tried to get J.D. McKissick in the offseason. He was going to sign a deal, and then he backed out of it, went back to the Commanders. Nyheim Hines is the exact same player. It's J.D. McKissick. So, I don't think he's not making a difference in the Bills. The Bills are already the Bills. It doesn't change anything from that point. And he's not coming in there and getting 20 touches a game.
People were literally like, the Bills got better.
I do think think it's an upgrade for Hines because he's now on a better offense.
Yeah.
So he's I don't think he has a touchdown this year. I would expect him to get a couple touchdowns on the Bills.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's not – you could play him maybe in your flex. He's worth a roster spot, but, let's relax.
We swapped running backs for a 6th round pick that's conditional. So,
right.
Now, Zachary Moss on the Coltsies. I don't like that either. So, all shares are dead. All right, one final guy that we wanted to get to really quickly, and we'll just spend a minute on this because we'll spend a whole offseason talking about it. But Calvin Ridley, who is currently still suspended, nothing really changes for him. He's not playing this year, but he gets traded to the Jaguars for what's called conditional draft compensation. So do we know what the trade is, what the pick is?
Yeah, it's a 5th and a 4th.
Okay.
And I don't know what the compensation is. So I'm reading it right now. If he gets reinstated by a certain date, the Falcons will receive a 5th rounder next year. Otherwise, it's a 6th rounder. So it's at least a 4th, and then potentially a 4th and a 5th. So that's still nothing.
The NFL to reinstate him?
I think it depends on when he gets reinstated. So if it's next year, it's probably a sixth, but if he can somehow play this year, it would be a fifth, I think.
Okay. All right. Good deal for the Jaguars, though. They go out and get go out and get a real receiver. Kirk becomes a good number 2. They got ETN, who's really their number 2 wide receiver now. Like I said, we're going to spend a lot of the offseason talking about this deal and what it means for the Jaguars, but I am saying for 2023 fantasy football, Trevor Lawrence to the moon.
Trevor Lawrence, bro. I was all in on Jaguars players this year: ETN, Kirk, and Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And I think all 3 of those guys have been good. Mm-hmm. But next year, bro.
Oh yeah,
to the moon.
All right, so there's your trade deadline. There's your we tried to give you some fantasy advice pertaining to some of the trades that happened. We're going to talk about Thursday night football now. Eagles at Texans. So this should be a win for the Texans. If they do not win this game, kind of confused.
The Texans? Are you thinking of like the right team? Because earlier you said this could be a good game. And now you're saying the Texans should win this.
I said the Eagles at the Texans. The Eagles should win this.
You said the Texans should win this.
I did not say the Texans. Roll back the tape. Okay. There's no way I said it. You just cut out and you heard Texans twice.
I hope so.
I said the Eagles Eagles are going to win this game.
Okay.
There's no way they don't. 43.5 point over under. I'm rooting for the Texans.
Right. Me too.
I am rooting for AJ Brown. Always rooting
for
AJ Brown. But 43.5 point over under. I'm actually kind of shocked that it's that low. I would take the over. I bet the over.
I think I would take the over too, actually, at 43.
But I don't know how last week's over under was like almost exactly the same with 2 better teams.
Yeah, true.
Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we'll start off with the road team, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, what Jalen Hurts has done this year is nothing short of awesome. He's been very efficient. He's done very well with the opportunities he's gotten. He's an obvious start in this situation. He's a start on a week-to-week basis, but this is matchups really good for him. So I think if you start him this week, you'll get some really great production. I think you can expect like 25 fantasy points from him against Houston. So I like Jalen Hurts for the week.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and the Eagles are undefeated because of Jalen Hurts. Man, he's solidifying himself, huh? It went from well, maybe we gotta get another guy to sign him to.
It's crazy how great a young quarterback will look when you get him a star receiver, and then you also scheme your offense according to his strengths.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably a good thing. All right, so for the other Eagles weapons here, we got the running back position. Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, both guys that I would not play at the running back position at all. I thought Gainwell, based on the way they used him last year, I thought maybe Gainwell could have some run for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But it just hasn't been that way. And it looks like Miles Sanders is the guy, obviously. Did he miss time this past week? Because his snap percentage dropped.
I don't think so. I mean, they blew out the Steelers, so he might have not played the fourth quarter.
But he's been hyper efficient. He's been really good on the season. Miles Sanders currently is RB18, so he's an RB2. You're probably starting him on a week-to-week basis if you have him either in your flex or in your RB2 slot. So I think you get this game against the Houston. Really, really good matchup for him. I would start him. What are your thoughts on Miles Sanders, though, Rick?
Yeah, he's been really solid this year. Feels like he's kind of back to the player that we thought he could have been in the past. And he's definitely at least a solid RB2. And if you got an RB2 with a fantastic matchup like this, he's a must start.
Yep. At the wide receiver position, A.J. Brown must start. Feel good about his matchup, too, against Houston. All of these matchups are going to be really easy, by the way. I feel like every single player for the Eagles is bound to have a good game.
No, I know.
So AJ Brown is coming off a monster 39-point performance.
Right.
So I don't want to. It's Thursday Night Football. Like, don't expect 20 points. This hurts me a little bit, but I would probably think he's going to be around 15 fantasy points for this game.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, but he is playing Houston, so who knows? He very well could just get 20 back-to-back weeks because he's playing Houston.
How you feeling about Devonta Smith?
I actually like him this week. He's kind of up and down, and I feel like on weeks where he doesn't really do a lot, they try to get him more involved in the game plan the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to try to get him involved in this game. So I do like him. I think he's a good wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. Good flex play this week against Houston.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good flex play as well. Since week 2, he's actually put up some good numbers with a couple of bust games here and there. But
right,
you're right. As soon as he's like not in the, as soon as he doesn't get targeted in a game, the offensive coordinator is like, "What the hell? We got to overthrow it to Devonta Smith." They're right. I want to say these two guys are really good. Like, Smith is always open. I feel like he's always open.
People talk about Waddle and Hill, and rightfully so, because that's an insane, ridiculous duo.
Mm-hmm.
But Devonta Smith and AJ Brown is right up there.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I like these two guys tonight. I think we're posting this on Thursday tonight. So I like these two guys on the Thursday night matchup. I would start them both. And then Dallas Goedert's a run. Any thoughts on Dallas Goedert?
He's been really good this year. He's kind of a must start though. He's like a consensus top 5 guy.
You know me in this league needs every inch in the offseason. There's this dude in this league who keeps offering me deals for Dallas Goedert. And they're all bad. It's like they keep inching up slightly.
But they're all still bad.
They're all bad because I have Dallas Goedert. And so the most recent one is Nyheim Hines, a 3rd and a 4th.
Ugh. Oh, bro, what the heck?
Yeah, I know. It's like,
that's awful.
I think he offered me the most he's offered me so far is a 2nd. I keep rejecting them.
Better,
seeing if they'll go up.
I wouldn't even take a 2nd for Goedert.
I know. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? So anyway,
shameless plug. I'm undefeated. I'm 8-0 in that league. Just saying.
Shut the frick up. Yeah, so Dallas Goedert start this week. Let's talk about the Houston Texans for a second. And I wanted to blow through the Eagles because we know what they are, undefeated.
Right.
I don't know, if you look at the rest of their schedule, if they lose another game. They shouldn't.
Yeah. At Dallas at week 16. Dude, they legitimately might win like 15 games this year.
15, 16.
They do have they're a great team, don't get me wrong, but they have like maybe the easiest schedule in the league. Like from week 1 to week 18.
Yeah.
They have a cakewalk.
I mean, do you think, I wish they played San Fran. That would be a good matchup.
They might in the playoffs.
Hey, they might in the playoffs, yeah. But anyway, so we got the bottom of the league here. What is Houston's record, by the way?
Houston is 1-5-1.
Man, I feel like when they tied the Colts early in the season and then won that game in week 2 and they were 1-0-1.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
You'd hope.
Houston might be good. No, they're not very good at all.
So to give you some context, I looked up Houston's offense, which has everything to do with fantasy.
Thank you.
And they did have a bye this week, but they have scored the fewest amount of points in the NFL.
What about yardage? Where are they in yardage?
They are dead last. I believe they're bottom 5, but I can double check. All right. See, I took the page off, and now I got to go back in.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. I'll just give you.
So yardage, they are the 2nd worst team in the NFL.
Wow.
In total yards per game.
That's really bad.
So they're the worst scoring and second worst in yards.
Jeez. Yeah, the Texans aren't good, at least offensively.
No.
All right, so at the quarterback position, we have Davis Mills. As a fantasy option, he really hasn't been anything. 15, 5, 12, 16, 6, 20, and 10 in the last 6 weeks of the season or 7 weeks of the season, 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
So he hasn't really produced anything from a fantasy perspective. He's not a guy that provides any rushing floor. So, he needs to score. He needs to get 250 and 2 touchdowns, essentially.
He's a pure pocket passer.
Pure pocket passer. But he needs to get 250 and 2 touchdowns on a weekly basis to be a good fantasy option. So, I mean, and obviously that's not going to happen for him every week. Interestingly enough, a lot of people are like hyping up Davis Mills in the offseason.
Yeah, there was some people that said Davis Mills better than Mac Jones going into
which statistically this year probably is true. But he has 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season so far, and hasn't been good. So it's like he's not the answer for Houston. He's probably going to end up being a career backup if I had to take a guess after they draft C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. But yeah, they're not in a good spot, and Davis Mills is not a good option in fantasy at all.
No, he's not. He's at least though like a capable quarterback. So like I think he's going to be a really, really good backup somewhere, but he's not.
Yep.
He's not a great starter.
Yep.
It doesn't help though that his team around him isn't good either, but still.
Okay. As far as the running back position is concerned, there's no other running backs on this team that I want outside of Dameon Pierce. He's kind of been the only good fantasy option, at least really good fantasy option on the Houston Texans. Obviously, there's Brandon Cooks, but
you don't want Rex Burkhead?
I don't want anything to do with Rex Burkhead. He looks like he should be working in like a coal mine in freaking
He looks like he works at Home Depot on the weekends.
Yeah, that is what he looks like.
Like Saturday, he works at Home Depot. And Friday.
Yep. But Dameon Pierce is the number one guy. He's been really good on the season. He's been, I would say, a top 15 running back. He's been ranked as that. He's been performing as that. So Pierce is really good, and he's a good run this week. Philly's got a tougher run defense. So, obviously, and it's a Thursday night football game, so the expectation should be lowered for Dameon Pierce's production and performance in this game. But I don't think he's bad to play on a week-to-week basis, obviously. So you got to roll him out there. You got to run with him and see what happens.
Yeah, as someone who has Dameon Pierce, though, I am scared. I'm very scared.
Yep.
Because I think this is a game that's going to get out of hand quick, and Philly's defense is elite. So it's it might look real ugly.
Yeah.
For Pierce,
yep.
But hopefully he still gets double-digit fantasy points. And outside of week 1, where he wasn't the starter, even though he was, but he wasn't, they gave Rex Burkhead all the carries. So from week 2 on, when he's actually been the starter, he's been very, very good. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Brandon Cooks leads this wide receiver core. He's been good. Didn't get traded. There was rumors that he might get traded to the Rams or somebody else, but he did not get traded in this game. He's been decent on the season. Wide receiver 44 on the season, so he's been like somewhere in the range of wide receiver 4.
He's been worse than what people anticipated, though.
Yes, yeah. I didn't anticipate that much because it's Houston,
right?
So
which you were correct in, and
yes,
I bought the cheese a little bit.
Yeah. So he has 15, 9, 4, 18, 6, 8, and 11 on the season. He's a matchup dependent play to me. But some people do have to start him on a week-to-week basis in their flex. For this game against Philly, I'm going to say he's a sit. And I don't want to start Brandon Cooks this week. The other guy that they've had that's actually been kind of interesting is Nico Collins. And he was drafted to be, obviously a future wide receiver for the team. He's been up and down in target share. He's produced when he's gotten the ball, but he doesn't really. I mean, it's Houston, so like, what is?
Yeah,
what is
he hasn't been awful, but doesn't have a touchdown yet, which I don't necessarily blame on him.
Yeah.
But he also hasn't had a game where he's gotten more than 4 catches. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think he's playing Thursday night. So,
yeah. So anyway, nothing there for options. And then there's no tight ends unless you want to start OJ Howard or Brevin Jordan.
Yep. This is Houston, bro.
Yeah, this is a cluster.
Just because of all this, though, they're gonna get like 30 points in the Eagles.
Yeah, if they're gonna drop 30 and win.
Hey, I'm down with that, bro. Dameon Pierce, 3 touchdowns. Let's go.
With that being said, who are you picking? Who are you picking?
I feel like you have to pick Philly, but hopefully the game's like a -20, and I can bet on the Texans.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Eagles too. I got the Eagles. Eagles going to take the dub. We got starts and sits, trade targets. See you later, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.